three topics, but yesterday we completed workflows, sequences, and flowchart, but state machines are still pending. We'll complete this first and let's go with the state machine because it's a huge topic. If we start with that, then the complete hour may go with state machine. Let's start with UiPath. Okay, in the project, let me close this. No, let's start UiPath from scratch. Okay, I'm opening day one training. Yes, it's bigger. Hope everyone were able to see it.
Yes, Anush.
Yep. Thank you so much. So let's create a new sequence for today, day 3. And yeah, so let's cover based on the use cases that we do. That will be the most easiest way to complete the training. First, let's go with extracting Google search results from some web page and try to add them to an Excel. First, for that, I need to I need to first open a browser and search in a Google search page. So what I can do here is I need to add open browser. In this open browser, directly I can type in the URL, which is www.google.com. When I develop in the same way. So this is what you can also do. For open browser, I need to check new session and private so that even if there is a history, it will continue with a new session. Let's debug the file. Let's see what we will get. So it opened a new tab with Google search page. What I can do now is I can record with web, but there is also an option called basic. So let's see what basic will do. Record, I can type in, let's type UiPath and let's press enter. So this is the automatic recording that's happening. When I press enter, it will enter the value. If it is a password, then I can check with the password. And if I want the field to be empty before I type in, I can check this one as well. But this is not a password, so I can just press UiPath and press enter. So it will be added to your page. Now what you need to do, you need to add a special key, enter, and press enter. So now what you can see is a list of items, okay, regarding all the URLs. Here you can see, do you want to use an anchor? But now let's not go with an anchor. Let's close and let's save and exit. So what are we doing? You're typing into a particular input and you can obviously place this enter in the top instead of giving it as a separate input. So this is an input again. Let's click here. Let's click here. So there are many click activities that happened. Now let's close the Internet Explorer and let's try to run the file, debug the file. So I'm going step by step, how we open first and how we add on the values. Okay. See, there are different ways how we input a particular text into a input field. If you see here on the right side, there are properties for input, which says what is the text you need to enter, UiPath and enter. And at the bottom, you can see options. Do we need to activate it or not? from UiPath. Alter if disabled, even though the text field is disabled, we can edit it if we check this box. Should we click, for example, in this particular input, should we click before we type in? If I check mark this, then it will first click in that particular input, then it will type. Delay between the keys. So for each and every text field or text input, for each and every letter, how much delay should I keep? And here empty field, if it is true, then it will clear all the values. This is something that should be checked. When we have input send window messages and simulate click as false, this is like when I type something, keyboard also, like the robot also types in the value, or it sends to hardware an input that you need to type this particular text. Then it, when keyboard press action is happened with the bot, then the input will be, we will be able to see the input in a particular input field. But if I click on stimulate type, it's like sending a message to a input field, like you need to enter this and give me a response whether it is successful or not. But whatever input is available in that particular text field, like it will be a message, it will be added or sent as a text message. But see here, there is some input called k enter, which is like a special character that UiPath need to recognize or UiPath need to send. So if I want to have something like that, then I need to keep both false, or I can also use send window messages. So send window messages is like sending a postcard in simple terms. You need not worry about if the receiver received it or not. Okay, but in detail, if you want to go technically in detail, then you need to go to Microsoft UiPath Docs. But this is the simple way of explanation that I'm trying to do. Let's see. I have already used stimulate click where it typed in UiPath and k enter. Now, when I remove this stimulate click to false, and when I debug this again, let's see what happens. It turned on or it opened. And if you see, it opened and the special key is used and enter is pressed, or Google search is pressed. That's the reason we are able to see the results now instead of that k enter. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to have the results of all the pages. Okay, so for that, what I can do is, see, in this we have an option called data scraping. If you see here in the data scraping, next I need to have all the URLs like TechCrunch. And the next item that I need to see, this is the structured data that I need to extract. Bloomberg. Now, if I see in the page, all the URLs or in that particular structure are selected. This is one URL, or this is the URL that's in the top, and this is the URL. So if we have a structure, then we can easily extract the URLs. And in here, you can see there are two options provided. What is the text and what is the URL? This is the text and corresponding URL. URL. Next. Now, if you see here, it is showing me all the text, but it is also extracting all the links to that particular text. Now, in this extract wizard, you can also see that there is an option called 100. How many inputs or how many values do we need to get? For now, if I keep it as 100, then it will try to extract 100. Let's try to get 100 results out of it. So what I can do is press enter, and I think the space is too big. That's the reason it is not able to give me the options. Okay, let's go with text size. Let's make it smaller. Text size is 100%. Okay. Okay, now if I see here, there is an option called finish and back. Now, when I go back to this particular page, and if you can see at the bottom, you also have pagination, or you can go to the next page. You can also train your robot or make your robot to click on next page, and it can extract the results for you. Finish. Now it's asking me, is your data spanning in multiple pages? Yes, it is spanning. And I need to click on next, because when I click on next, it will move to next page. Okay, so it is extracting all the results. So there is a sequence extracted now. Attach the browser, and after attaching the browser, it is extracting the result. And after extracting the result, it created a variable called extract data table. Now, if I want to write it, what should I do? I need to just add one activity called write range, which I have shown you earlier. In this write range, I need to give a input UiPath results, and it is of the format XLSX. And what is the sheet name? Here you can see that there is a sheet name. If you want to check in detail, on the right side there are options: sheet name, sheet 1, and starting cell where it should write A1, and what is the data table. See, before we extracted a data table here, so we can add the same variable here. And if I have headers, I can add headers, like I gave URL and the name, so that headers also will be added. If I uncheck this, then headers will not be added, only the values will be added. And if there is a password for this particular Excel file, then I can even add that. Let's save, let's close all windows, let's debug again. So I'm trying to explain you activities. One activity is text activity, type into activity. Second is the click activity that is generated. Third one, extracting the data table or extracting the structured data. See, the pages are now getting navigated to next items or next pages. And after we get 100 results, let's hope that this will be completed fast. We should be able to see 100 rows in the Excel. It is completed. Now, if I want to check where this particular output is, see, if you go into the project, if you didn't give any external path or relative path, then it will be stored in the project. You just need to press refresh and you can see the result here. And I can give the view the result here. And these are all the values. See, within 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes with small clicks, I am able to extract all the data from Google, which is around 100. So the first row is header. So altogether, I got 100 results. Okay. Let's check with the values again. Okay, I completed extract Google results into Excel. Data scraping completed. We will also see how to extract a data table. Screen scraping, I will say, convert. So we'll complete this. So how to extract a table from a web page. Let's go into Wikipedia, because Wikipedia, we have Wikipedia. And in this Wikipedia, let's search for UiPath again. Now in this UiPath, Wikipedia, let's assume, or let's see if we can get a table. Okay, we don't have a table. Okay, view search history. No, I don't have a table here even. So table, let's search for a table. Information, yes. Yes. So if you can see here, there is a structured table. How can we extract this structured table? So again, I'm not starting all my recording from the beginning. What I'll do is I'll go into a new file, new sequence, extract table from Wikipedia. Now in this Wikipedia, see, I already have the web page open. I need not recreate or open the web page again. I just need to extract the values. For that, what I can do is I can directly go to data scraping and click on next and select a row in a data table. It will ask me if it is a data table structure, then UiPath has the capability to understand that it's a table structure, and it will ask me, would you like to extract the complete table? Yes. So with a single click, I got all the results, and we can also see with the how many values that we want. Finish. Is the data spanning on multiple pages? No. Here, the same value. I think I can copy this from here to here. Let's also see, will the data be overwritten or not? Okay, so to explain you about overwriting data, I'm using the same output file, and let's go with UiPath and continue debug file. I'm not opening a browser now. I'm just extracting the data. So it's completed. Let's go with UiPath result. And if you can see, the first 10 rows are replaced. Now, what if I don't want to replace and I want to append the data? What do I need to do? So I can, there is a activity also for that is called append range, which is a workbook. So there is a difference between workbook and Excel activities. I will try to cover that as fast as I can. So here I can give the same options, same sheet, but there is no starting page. So it's A1. Could you please keep everyone in mute? I think if you're not talking or if you don't want to ask question, please be on mute. Thank you. Okay. I have added extracted data table. Now let's see how the data is getting processed and how it is appended to the sheet. I don't have the sheet open. Now let's keep the sheet open and let's see what error do we get, or will it be able to write the data or not. Let's make it quick. Debug table. Yes, it extracted, but see, there are two types of Excel activities in UiPath. One, which is called Excel workbook activities, Excel activities. Second is workbook activities. If you are using workbook activities, then Excel need not be available in your machine. But if you are not using, or if you don't have Excel in your machine, or if the client don't want to add Office in their machine, even then you can use Excel activities using workbook activities. So let's go with activities and let's see workbook activities. If you see here, there is append range, get table range, read cell, cell formula. So all these are ranges or workbook activities where we don't need Excel to be opened or Excel need not be installed. But if we have Excel installed, we should not work on the same file. The reason is whenever we use workbook activities, see, when I open this particular UiPath results, if I try to reopen the same file, it will show me an error that there cannot be multiple files with the same name. Let's go to, so if you want to go to the project, there is an option called File Explorer. Now, if I click on UiPath results, it's giving me, but normally when we see, we will, it will throw an option stating that you cannot open same file multiple times, or let's go and continue. So I already have this open. So let me close this and let's go with debug again. Let's see where the values will be appended or added. Let's check with this. So if you can see here, the values are appended at the bottom. And if you observe, there are no headers for this. So whenever you append the range, we will not have headers. We will have only the data. Let's close. And let's continue. Okay, I have shown you workbook activities. I will also show you Excel activities so that you can understand more Excel. So there are Excel activities in UiPath and you can get them by typing Excel. But if you use Excel, if you want to use Excel, see, if you want to use browser, you need to have attached browser. In the same way, if you want to use Excel, you need to have Excel scope, or it's like a container which enables you to access Excel, or all the authentications will be done here and all the sub functions will be done in the do block. In the activities, let's assume or let's write or let's rearrange. Okay, let's rearrange from sheet 1 and let's add the range to sheet 2, right range in sheet 2, and let's also append the range. If you see here, there is also something called append range in Excel activities. So I have sheet 1. If I keep everything as blank, then it will read everything. And if I want to add or if I want to get the output, I need to create a variable for it. Create a variable. You can also use Control K, and this is a data table, and this data table will give me sheet 1 results, sheet 1 values. Now this red data or this data should be added to sheet 2. That's what my requirement is, sheet 2. And after adding the value to sheet 2, so what should I add? I need to add DT sheet 1 values. And after adding sheet 1 values, I also need to append the extracted range, because initially we are trying to get the structured data. Then we are adding the data at the bottom. So I'm also adding extract data table or extracted data table. Now let's go back to UiPath and let's keep this particular UiPath results sheet open. Now, when I have the sheet open, earlier when we are using workbook activities, it thrown an error that we cannot continue to write in it. But when we are using Excel activities, it will use the existing Excel session. It will not create a new Excel session. Okay, let's see with this. Okay, there is a sheet 2 created and we have all the values from sheet 1, if you can see. And see, in this particular right range, I did not select add headers. That's the reason in sheet 2, it did not add the headers. Okay, but if I click on add headers, then it will also add the headers. But in append range, I think in the sheet 2, we already placed some values. So the values are already added here. So this value, it will go into sheet 1 with the naming that we gave. So these are the values that executed or that appended now in this run. Let's continue. I think we completed Excel. Screen scraping. Okay, what exactly is screen scraping? Now let's see with this particular screen. Now if I don't have its structure, but if I want to extract table from it, how can I do that? In UiPath, let's go to new sequence again, screen scraping. Now in this screen scraping, see there is an option called screen scraping here. What I can do is I can select complete screen and it will give me the data that's available in the screen, all the data or whatever it's able to extract. Let's go with full text and refresh. So when we are selecting with full text, we will be able to receive or extract data that is even hidden. Okay, all the data that will be available on a page can be extracted within a particular element. Let's go with OCR. What OCR does? See, in OCR, there are multiple OCRs, Microsoft, Google, which is also called Tesseract. So these are free to use. And in the languages, you have multiple languages, United Kingdom and United States. I think you need to play more to get in detail, but let's refresh and see what data we'll get and how we getting the data. So of course, OCR will take longer time because it treats the element as an image. And see, the data that is extracted in a different format, or we are not getting it in a correct format. I don't think we have something called WAC here. We don't have, because this is treating this complete web page as an image, and it's trying to extract text from the image. That is the reason it is unable to get the complete values. But what if there is an image and if we want to extract text? Let's see something with that example. So let's see with image with text. Okay, so let's check with this text. Okay, let's open this in new tab. Okay, this is the text. Now, if I want to extract the text from this particular image, so this is an image now. What I can do is I can again click on indicate element. This is the image that I want. See here, it is able to extract all the text from that particular image. Okay, quick brown frog, a fox jumps over the lazy dog. And different options. Let's see again, what can we get? I think we are going to get the same thing. And using Google OCR, if I want to extract only numbers, I think we will not get any value now, because there are, okay. See, now the text is being considered as numbers. Okay, though it's trying to extract, it is not doing it correctly. So as a developer, you should be able to understand where to keep what value. And if I want to extract only uppercase characters, let's see. So all the values are getting extracted only in uppercase. And if there is specific custom values, like I want only numbers, I think I can get the numbers even. So I want to allow only 1 to 9 characters or 1 to 9 numbers. Let's see. So it's extracting only numbers in 1 and 9, or open and close braces, nothing else. So these are the things that normally will be used by someone who is working on image automation or OCR automation. But if you want to use, I think you need to play more with this. Okay, any questions so far? Let's take questions quickly and let's continue. We don't have any questions. Okay, so let's try to write this in a message box. Okay, now when I write this in a message box, let's see what data can we get. Words info, text extracted, and get OCR text is what we'll get. This is the target, and this is the extracted OCR. The result which we can get is values, OCR value, OCR value. Now let's write it in the message box, OCR value, and let's debug and see what can we get in the message box. Okay, it's trying to add the values. Now we'll see how to convert output string. So that is an output string into a data table, into a output data table. Now if I want to write this particular message box in an Excel, I need to write range. I'm using workbook here, write range. If I want to write it into an Excel with a table format, I need to have it in a data table format only. I cannot add it as a text. So for that, screen scraping. And let's complete this with generate data table. So there is an option called generate data table. Okay, so when we use this particular value, we can give what data are we sending in. So we can say new line separator is new line. Okay, we can make it quick like this. So let's go with generate data table. and let me type some value. Okay, what value do we have? The quick brown. Okay, let me add quick brown and let's see the quick brown fox jumps over. So these are the two lines of text that I extracted. Now I can see the first row has column headers. No, the first row is not column headers. Ignore the first column. No, don't ignore the first column. Now, if I want to use column separators, yes, the column separators are spaces, and new line separators, I think the new line separators are taken care by CSV parsing. Now, if I preview, see here, column 1, column 2, column 3 are generated. Text are also generated. Now, let's click on OK. So now we have separators, CSV parsing, and new line separators are also available. And see here, data table, screen data, screen table, and input. What is the input that we are going to send? We are sending OCR value because this is the OCR value that we need to convert into a table. Okay. Now I can write the same table here, screen table, and use row header or use column header. For now, I don't want anything, but if I want to add column header, see what will be generated. Use column headers or no generate tables. Okay, add headers I can use here, and I can write table, screen table. Okay, now when I press on this particular XLSX, so you need to make sure that you are typing in the format properly, or else this will not work. Yes, we got the values, and we should also see some result in the Excel. Let's see the result in Excel. Screen scraping. So we have the results, column 1, column 2, column 3. The columns names are automatically generated, and we got the values. Let's go back. So this is completed. Discuss about password. So we'll see about password. Screen scraping is completed. Okay. Now, okay, let's go ahead and try something with this particular login, where I'm trying to log in to a particular URL. Okay. So to do this, since I already have this tab open, in the interest of time, I'm not going to recreate the tab or not open the tab. I just want to enter email and password. Only two things. The best way to do it is using the orchestrator. Let's go ahead and check with the orchestrator because our robot is connected with the orchestrator. Let's go and add platform.uipath.com. Let's go with my Microsoft account. And let's sign in. Yeah. So here, since my robot is already connected with the orchestrator, and this is the best way to do it. If you are using orchestrator, and see here, there is something called assets. In the assets, we can add the values like string, input, okay, like text, boolean, integer, and credential. So let's go with credential for now, and let's see UiPath credential. Okay, now here Acme login credentials. And the credential store is database, but if you are using enterprise version, then you will have multiple options. And here the password can be, I'm giving some default password, vajrang@outlook.com. That's my name. And the password is one value. some text. If I can show you, there is some text. That's the password that I'm keeping, and create. Now to make this to work, you need to connect your robot with the same orchestrator in the same environment. Now let's go ahead and check with sequence, working with password. Here we have multiple options. First, let me record with web. Okay, I can check this record. Okay, see, I'm going to explain you about relative scraping as well, or relative typing as well. If I click here, I can check with email. This is a text which I'm using by default. I need to use empty field and press enter. It adds the password, and here we are typing in the password, which is some password. Enter. And we need to press on login. These are not correct credentials, so we will not be able to log in, but let's save and exit. What if you are not connected to orchestrator, and what if you want to save the password? How that can be done? See, UiPath provides an activity called get password, and that password, what it does is, whatever the password that I typed in while recording, that password is encrypted in stars. Okay, and the result is password, and this is a variable again, and this variable is typed in to that password input, and in the same way the email value is typed in into this place. Let's go ahead and see if it is working or not, then we'll continue. Let's refresh the page. Okay, let me keep execution trail. I think we have everything. Debug. Let's see. Email and a password. Login. Okay, it did not work, but let's see the password. I'm not sure if you are aware of this, but this is the way how we can see the passwords. We can go into the DOM and select this. We should be able to select this, and here it will be of type password. If you just convert into text, I can see the password that I typed. Okay, this is some password that came from the recording. Now, what if I want to get the recording, the password from orchestrator? For that, there is an activity called credentials or get password. Get credentials. You can see get credential activity from here. And here we need to have the asset name. And in the latest version of UiPath, there is orchestrator resources that you can see. I hope we can refresh it. If we are not able to refresh it, let's go back to asset and let's add this, copy this name and get credential, check with the properties. In this properties, we need to add the asset name. So that is an asset and we need to add the asset name. And from here, we will be able to get uname, username, orchestrator, and we will also be able to get secure string, which is a password. We will not be able to see the password here because this is already encrypted, and we are going to see only the encrypted string here. So if I just go ahead and enter Control K, which creates str or secure PWD, secure password. I need to highlight one thing. See, whenever we create a secure string or a password, it will be of type or a data type of secure string. If you are not a developer, just understand that this is one type of value. Like for a string, it will be character. For integer, it will be numbers. And for password, it will be secure string. Now, the values that I got here, I need to send them into this particular input. So instead of password, what I can send here is yes input. What I have, I have secure string SSC secure password. Okay, so whenever I use a secure password, I should not use a type into activity. I need to use type secure text. So only secure text should be added to secure, or a password should be added to the input. So the secure text is secure password. Okay, but here this accepts only integer. So let's keep password here as it is, but let's comment it so that it will not work. And the shortcut for commenting is Control D. And here in the email, let's go ahead and check with username or uname orchestrator. Okay, now let's go and execute the same workflow. That is adding the values into this particular URL. Let's go ahead and debug the flow. Debugging the flow. So you are seeing that it is getting the credentials. It got the credentials and it's executing in the background. Okay. Now, if you can see here, the password is not typed in because if you see, we added a secure text, but we did not give the target where it should type. So let's go with indicate element on screen and let's select this secure text. Now it got the selector and the selector is with ID password and tag is with input. Let's go and debug the flow again. Now it will go ahead and extract the values again from the orchestrator and it will type in, and it also typed in the password. Now let's see what password did it type. Earlier we have some password as a text, but in the orchestrator we have a different value text, and there is some text, the password we got from the orchestrator. That's how you can call the values from the orchestrator as a password where you can securely store it, or while recording you can also use this get password, which let's say that I enter a password which is of type string. So what I can do is I can press double quote, or I can just type get password. This is the password that I typed in. Now if I just go ahead and use Control D and let's uncomment this. So here we are getting the password that I just typed in. Let's debug this file again. Text is added. Get password. Okay, so get password is something that I typed here. So if you want to secure it, I think you can secure it like this. The password also will be stored securely, and you can also type in the password without showing the exact password. But the best way is to store in the orchestrator. Let's go back and let's see here. We discussed about password and okay. Input methods, I think we checked with type into and click. There are multiple options called select, which we did yesterday, like selecting a combo box or a drop down, and this can also be used as input for radio button as well. I suggest you to try this, but let's check with the selectors. Important topic. Now, what is a selector? See, every target element or every element need to have a selector that is unique within the page, and I need to check with the value. What if I remove this email or remove this email ID? Let's see what will happen, and let's validate. It's highlighting. It's going with the first one. Let's also remove this input. Let's not give what input it is. Let's give only the selector called web control, validate. It's still validating, but we are unable to see which item it is validating, or there is some web control, but we don't know what web control it is. It's taking the first or it might be taking the last. So if I want to edit this, there is an option called Open in UI Explorer directly from here, where I can click and I can indicate the element. If I want to change this to forget password, I can even do that. And you can see all the selectors here. So all the tree is a selector. Everything is a selector. Now, if I want to use relative element, what is a relative element? The password, this is a static value, but let's assume, okay, let's go with RPA challenge. There is a website called RPA challenge. I suggest everyone to go ahead and see that RPA challenge. Okay, let it load. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to add input into these fields. That's the simple concept of this page. Let me create a new page, cancel. Let's go with design, new sequence, dynamic selectors. Okay, dynamic selectors. Now if I try to record, let's go with web recording directly and record. Now if you see here, check email, enter, and here we have company name. So let's say company name. That's simple thing that I want to do, save and exit. Now see here in the selectors, you can see an ID. Okay, so when we are working with a static HTML page, these IDs will not be changed. But when we are working with a dynamic HTML pages, the selectors will be changing. Then we need to use relative elements or relative selectors for that. Let's refresh the page. Since we are able to highlight it, we are making sure that this is valid selector. And let's refresh the page. Let's see what will happen. And let's remove the highlight element. So this is the email, but if I highlight this again, let's see, let's validate. So we don't have a ID that is related to S4B VD in this particular page. That's the reason it's failing. What if I want to make, so this will be updated on every refresh. I cannot control this. Neither I can have a name. If I check with the inspect element, neither I can have a name that is perfect or a class name or anything. Label, email, I cannot check anything with these options. The only way that I can do is open UI Explorer. Now see, indicate anchor. So this is a relative element. So I can indicate email, which is static because the email will always be there in the page. Let's see, it should refresh or it should update. And let's indicate an element and let's check with this input. Okay, here we are seeing that there is an input that we need to add and there is a label. If you see here, there is a label. Let's go ahead and select the label even. Now here, how to make sure that this is a valid selector every time. See here, on the right side, you have different selected items or different properties where you can use. Inner text is what I can use. CSS selector, I cannot rely on this because CSS may be changed. And this particular ID, see now it is star BP. This is continuously changing. But what am I exactly asking this particular selector to do? First, go into the parent, that is email. And in that parent, there is a next element called input, which is this one. This email input and select that input and use that as a selector for me. That's what I am checking or I'm trying to say for this. So how I can do the same thing for company name. Let's go back. Okay, let's first update this one. In top BRB, let's remove the ID. Let's keep input and let's keep text because the input will always be text. Let's copy this, or I can directly click on save because I opened this from Open UI Explorer. Let's click on validate and click on highlight. Now when I refresh, every time I refresh, I get the email input. I will not get something that is not an email. Okay, let's remove the highlight and let's press highlight again. So it's checking with email. Let's remove the highlight element. Let's refresh. Now the input can be at any place. All it's seeing is it's seeing with the email, and whatever comes next with the email, it's checking the text highlight element. So again, email came on the top. So this is how you can do that. Now to understand more, let's do the same thing with this particular value. Let's repair it. Though even I do repair, I cannot use or I cannot extract selector, relative selector. So again, first I'll repair it to company name. So this is the company name and this is valid now. Now let's indicate an anchor. Indicate an anchor is company name. So if you see here, I'm going into company name, and in that company name, I'm moving it one nav up, and there is an input in this particular parent. Or in this parent, there are only two elements, one with name, label, and the second one with input. So it's going into parent and it's checking anything with input. So let's remove the ID and let's select text. So making this dynamic selector highlight. Now every time I refresh a page, it will select only the company name. It will not select anything else. Okay, highlight. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we have 3 more minutes. Meanwhile, let's see with the selectors. I think I completed selectors. Relative scraping. I think we completed relative scraping, which we just now did. Relative values extraction. What is third-party APIs extraction? Okay, this is an important topic. Again, if you want to, in this hackathon, if you want to call some APIs, how can you do that? Let's create a new sequence calling APIs. So for my ease, I took a website which accepts a HTTP request. Whatever request I do, it shows me that this is the request that you have done. Let's see how I can use it. So if you want to use HTTP request, you need to add a package, or you need to add one more package which is not available in these dependencies. So if you see here, there are Excel activities, mail activities, something like this. But if I want to make a HTTP request, I have only orchestrated HTTP request, but I don't have a normal HTTP request, which I need to have. So I need to go to manage packages and I need to search for web activities. And in this, see, I can call SOAP requests, I can call JSON request, I can use REST API, anything I can work with it. I need to install and I can save it. Here there are web activities that are added and see in the activities. Now if I press HTTP request, let's go to HTTP request and let's add a endpoint URL. So any endpoint URL. So this is like a URL that you need to call using your Postman. This is the same way how you do it. And let's refresh, or let's go back. Copy URL. So the URL is copied and this is the URL that I need to use. And this is the URL. And if there is a client password, I can keep client method I can keep. I can do any kind of request like get, post, put, delete, head, anything. So let's go with post first. Accept any response. I can accept JSON response. And parameters, I can add parameters and I can add attachments. I will also show you how to do this. See, when I click on preview, it made a HTTP request with post method. So there is a post method that happened and it came with a IP, and this came just now. Let's see with raw body, preview response. There is no response from the URL. And let's go with request, add a parameter. Let's add a parameter. Let's add a parameter num, param1, and the value is val1. And let's add a header event, header1, header2, head value. Now let's add a URL segment event. So these are the things that we normally use. URL1, val1, and if there are any attachments, even I can add the attachments, but let's go with preview. Okay, I made a post request again. It should, so just now it should post a request again. Let's refresh this page. And it posted the value, and we can see param value and form values, header values here, and whatnot. We can see everything. Let's also send some query strings. Okay, let's close this. How to send a query string? I think you need to add query string in the URL, and that is done like this. QEE1 equal to value1. Let's save it. So this is the expression editor. So earlier what we see is something that is used to create a request. Now if you want to update the request, so this is the place where you can do. So if I want to send a delete request, I can do a delete request here, and I can add the value. If I want to add a body, I can do that. If I want to send a JSON value, so body format is JSON, and I want to pass or send a JSON value here. Let's quickly add a JSON value, JSON1, and it's having a value called value J1. Okay, but this should be in a string. So what I can do is I can send everything in a string, and instead of double quotes, I can place single quotes. So this will be treated, all the value is treated as string, and I even maintain the JSON structure. Okay, now let's go ahead and debug this. Opening the same URL again. Let's see the URLs. Okay, now you can see that there is a delete request, and that for the delete request there is a query string value1, param value1, and we also have the raw content JSON that we added, and the header values, everything that we need to send or receive, we can do that. And if you want to retrieve the data from the response, you can check with the response. This is the result. If it sends the response, then we can check with the response, and this is the status code. All you need to do is use the existing values, and these are the headers. Okay, now someone asked me how to send dynamic values to message box. Now this is what I'm going to use in this calling APIs. Now here we have variables. These are the dynamic values, and here let's send in the status code. Status code, I can copy paste again. I can see the result. If it has the result, then it will give me the result. So these all are the dynamic values, and we have headers as dictionary values. Let's continue and debug again. Let's see the message boxes. What results will we get? 200 is the result, which is success, and there is no response. So there is success request, but there is no response. Again, this is the value, and these are the requirements that we sent. Let's go back. We completed this. About UI elements, we completed. So this, okay, we completed everything that we want to complete in today's